So I have here titanium buff, raw umber, and a small amount of cadmium red light. Now this canvas has been primed with a wash of titanium buff and raw umber. I'm not sure if I put a bit of ultramarine violet in it, but it's really not important. This is the shade I want. So I'm trying to see if I can, there, perfect. So see, it's small, it's a bit darker than and it has a bit of red in it. So that here will allow me to highlight as much as I want. Even if it's going to dry darker, it doesn't matter. It's okay. It's better to go darker and then highlight. That's good. That's really good. Okay. A bit of red in here. I added a touch of red. Very, very small amount. You know, it's like a shade that you see there. Like you see a bit of red in there. Now I'm going to switch. Make sure that I use all of this I have here. I'm going to switch to my bright brush. Oops. I'm taking a very tiny, very small amount of red in here, mixing it and putting it in here too. It's it just gives you that beautiful shade of red, but it's not overwhelming. Now, in this reference, you see a bit of darker color in here. So I'm going to take a bit more of the raw umber. I don't want to see, it doesn't have to be the same like what we see in the picture. And to have a very soft transition from dark to light, I'm pulling a bit more of the titanium buff into my colors, and you see the difference? Look. Now, I'm highlighting a little bit more, going down. Oops. And because these two colors, the other color that I've been using for the background, the darker one, is still wet, it's easy for me to blend my colors, blend from the dark to light. This happened here, that soft transition from dark to light, because both colors were wet. Mm-hmm. And I'm using a wide brush. Big brush, usually when you use a wide brush, you get a very soft transition or soft color where you don't see the brush stroke too much. Now, if you see the brush strokes in certain areas, please don't try to cover it. It's nice to have a nice brush stroke showing. Okay, perfect. So for the bottom part of the painting, we're going to use white, titanium buff, and red. Just like a light, very soft pink. I'm gonna use the, and in a minute, what I'm going to do later on is soften this line. So I'll show you how we're going to soften this line. White brush, it's easier to control the brush stroke.
That red is very strong. Too much.
Yes, that's why you take a bit of it, like a tiny bit. Now, in this area down here, where you see the, right here, I added a bit more of the raw umber in here, right there, and maybe a bit of red. Oh, wow, yes, it is. You're right. It's very, very strong.
Wow. Now to get rid of it.
Just because that fabric is going to cast a shadow over. So there we go. Now let's go back and softly blend this area. Perfect. It's amazing how with acrylics, when you use the paint, when it's wet, the edges are so soft. Where you blend both colors, light and dark. As soon as it dries, then that's it. You have to adjust, you'll get a sharp line. Okay, now I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften this line a bit. So I'm going to go back to the original color, which is umber, and I'm going to push my raw umber slightly into the new one, the pink one, right here. Use a round brush. Wet this part. Clean my brush, dry it, dry the brush. Perfect. So I'll explain again what I did. I'm wiping my brush to remove paint and blend. Okay, so what I did is I went back to the color I used for the background. I put a strip of color and immediately, quickly got the color I used for the foreground, and I blended softly using a round brush any brush you have. It doesn't have to be a round brush. And wiping my brush, my paint with the, you know, anything here like a piece of cloth, and just kind of blend this part. And you'll see it looks much better than, you know, having a strong line. Now I'm going to take a bit more of white, titanium buff, red, and I'm going to come here with this. I'm using a round brush just because I can use the tip of my brush and have a soft, this is like feather, like feathery, very soft brush stroke in here. Let's see. Dry brush. Let's see if I can blend it. It's not blending because it's wet. It's dry already, very dry. Add a bit of, I'm adding a bit of red in here. Wow. You know, I think I have to do it again because acrylics, when it dries harsh. Okay. Let's go back. Soften this probably. I'm just going to see if I can soften it without using. All right, let's go back to adding a bit of raw umber and with the tip of my brush, round brush, I'm just going to try to blend. Okay. Good. All right. So the same colors we used for the background, slightly lighter. So I'm adding a bit more of the titanium buff, not white, no white, titanium buff. I added a touch of sap green in here. Very small amount of sap green. Now, I really don't want this background to, or this plate to look too light against the background, because this will give it the feel of, or the look of fuzzy look for the background, for the plate, so it doesn't look heavy sitting there. So now I have here, I used titanium buff, raw umber, bit of raw umber, and a touch of red and sap green. Now I'm going to take more red into the same mixture, no sap green though, no sap green. So my main color is always titanium buff, raw umber. And in this main color, I'm adding other colors. need to work fast because I don't want to have a transition between the green to the red for the plate. I don't want to have a sharp line.
But you've got red in there.
Yes, yes, because you see, this is what's happening. This
Okay.
pot is casting, is, you know, this red is showing on the plate from the pot. And you do want to have some kind of a red in there, because what's happening, you want to pull some of the foreground colors into the background colors, right? You want to have some of those foreground colors in the background colors. Now, once I start getting to the bottom part right here, I'm going to darken my color a bit using titanium buff, raw umber. And what I'm seeing here is a bit of green as well. So I'm going to take a bit of sap green, put it in there. Oh my God, I love this raw umber. So if you ever go to the, when you go to the art store, pick up raw umber.
Yes, for sure. She was out of it way back, but I
Yeah.
haven't been there now for months.
Because raw umber is wonderful when you mix it with other colors. It changes the other colors into a beautiful shade of, it tones down the other colors, but it doesn't kind of interfere too much. It just makes your colors grayish, you know, really, really nice and toned down. Okay, this one here. I better stop talking and painting at the same time. It doesn't work. Okay, so knowing acrylics, I'm gonna have to adjust my colors a bit once it's dry, once the color is dry, because it dries really dark, very hard to control. I'm adding more titanium buff here. Because I know this is highlighted in the reference, this area. I kind of lost the inside color of the inside line of the plate. That's okay. Put it back in a minute. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm okay with the plate, the outside. All right, that's good. I'll try to use a smaller round brush now. Now, titanium buff, raw umber, touch of red in my raw umber. And let's see if we can do this. So the reason this is darker right here is just because of the raw umber. I need to put some water on my brush. So we have a harsh edge right now here, but that's okay. I'm going to go back in a minute and use my round big brush, take titanium buff, of course, my main color, which is titanium buff and raw umber. Take red. Try come here. Go a bit darker. Okay, that's good. And soften this. Okay, now let's go back to the small brush, darker color, titanium buff, bit of raw umber, touch of red in it, and now I'm going to take touch of green, a bit of the sap green, and I'm going to come here. Oh, should be darker. Should be darker means I need to add more raw umber. I'm taking a lot more of raw umber because I have to come down here and put the shadow in there. Okay. Going back to plate again, because I need to soften this. So you see, this is a back and forth between the plate, inside of the plate, and the border, adjusting colors as much as I can. I really don't want this plate to stand out.
Mhm.
It's not supposed to. It's supposed to blend with the background. It's supposed to be there, but not there. One more step. White. Take white, add it to the color of the plate. And I'm going to come here. I'm adding a bit more white in here now. Slowly. Taking the color of the plate and adjusting. You know, it's good that it is drying darker, because it will force me to adjust my highlights, which is great, because then there. This is this one here, it's very dark. So I'm gonna make it a tiny bit, glaze it. This line here, glaze this line. Again, I'm gonna pick up a bit of white with the tip of my brush, mixed. The white is always mixed with the background color of the plate. And I'm going to enhance the white in here on top and just let it go. Again, over here. And then just the top part, and then blend it at the bottom. So the white that's mixed with the color of the plate shouldn't be strong here and strong there. So it's only strong at the top, and then at the bottom it's softer. What I'm going to do is darken this area here. There. So now the plate in the background is there, but at the same time, it's not overwhelming and it's not too strong. But it's there. Raw umber, titanium buff, red, that's the bottom of the teapot. I know I'm going fast, but it's all recorded.
Is it a pinky color?
Hmm?
Is it a pinky color?
Painting?
Well, pink. Or is it more brown?
Yes, 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 it is pinkish. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So now I'm going to take white. My brush has the original color that I've been working with, which is raw umber with red in it and titanium buff. And now I'm adding white to the same mixture. More white, same mixture, but more white now. I'll come here. If you look at the reference, you'll see that the bottom of the teapot really blends with the background, kind of. I'm bringing, you know how usually we use it, what we do back and forth kind of blending. Take a bit of the titanium buff, I mean, a bit of the raw umber, red, and just blend. Let it dry and go back to adjusting the highlight. Well, that's good. Always when you're blending back and forth, it's not going to happen from the first time. That's because acrylics dry really dark and harsh. Okay. I'm going to do more than this because I have to put the color of I'm sure this needs to be adjusted, maybe highlighted a little bit more. But before I put the color of the pot, I am not going to adjust it more. So I'm just going to try to highlight this plate. So I mixed, what I'm doing here is I'm mixing titanium buff, raw umber, touch of raw umber in there. I put a bit of red as well, and sap green. So let's see. Okay, well, let's try. round brush. When I'm getting to this part here, I'm just doing a dry technique. So I'm not loading my brush. I load it once. It's a round, big brush. I'm loading it once. And I am kind of spreading the color like a soft glaze in here. And you see I'm going over the arm, the handle of the pot. I'm not going to worry about going around it because that's the only way I'm going to get a soft, beautiful, even color in that background. Okay, I'm going to leave this the way it is. I know it has kind of a line, but that's okay. The whole idea is to get this part lighter. That's all. That's all I need to do. And I'm just going to leave it to dry. It could be more, mine is more on the green side. I could just kind of add touch of red. Let's clean my brush. And take a touch of red, put it in here. Same mixture I have. Same mixture I used. And that's the second layer that has a bit more red in it. So I'm losing the handle, but that's okay. I'll put it back. No problem. I'm not worried about this. Perfect. That's awesome. That looks good. Very light touch. Very light touch. Don't go heavy. Okay, perfect. That's it.